Toxic, racist, and suffocating are some of the words some South Africans have used to describe corporate South Africa. Resistance to transformation, bullying, pay inequality, and intolerance for dissenting voices are cited as some of the reasons that make corporate South Africa unbearable for many black South Africans.
I had some negative experiences in the workplace where I worked previously in a media house, and it taught me a lot about what South African corporate culture really is, because it exposed me firsthand to what corporates can do, especially when they decide that they want to be vindictive.
This was a tipping point for Phakamile Hlubi-Majola, who resigned from the company in 2016 at the height of her career.
For the first couple of years, at the beginning, it was really great. I loved my work. I enjoyed what I was doing. The problem came in when I started questioning some of the practices in the newsroom. As journalists, for example, we would raise the issue of structural racism, although we wouldn't call it that because people were too scared to even utter the word structural racism.
At the heart of the dispute was the company's policy, which barred journalists from wearing headscarves on air. Hlubi-Majola's colleague at the time, Nontobeko SABC, was penalized for defying that rule.
This had been an issue which journalists had actually raised on various platforms in various meetings for months before the actual incident had happened. So when Nontobeko did what she did, of course, most of us felt a lot of sympathy for her, felt that she'd been dealt and treated very badly, and rallied around to support her.
The labor rights activist believes the media industry is one of the most untransformed sectors in the country.
Corporate South Africa is racist. That's a fact. That's a reality. There's a lot of denial in many industries, especially in the media industry, huge denial about structural racism and structural patriarchy. Nobody was calling us gaffers, but certainly the policies that they had, like the policy against headscarves, and the fact that they wouldn't clear certain people for air because they didn't sound right, was a reflection of that type of intense racist culture.
Hlubi-Majola says the abuse of workers by corporate giants is also reflected in the slow pace of transformation in the workplace and a recent CCMA report which raised concerns about the magnitude of dismissal cases in the private sector.
Generally speaking, corporations get away with a lot in terms of how they treat workers. They don't have the same type of focus and scrutiny that there is on government and government departments and government officials.
Following the pressure exerted by Hlubi-Majola and her colleagues, her former employer revised its headscarf policy and finally allowed the journalist with a heavy Zulu accent to narrate his stories. A small victory it might seem, but Hlubi-Majola believes her journey is a classic example that the power to enforce change in the workplace lies with the workers. She says all they need to do is to unite and fight. Lindiwe Mabena, SABC News in Johannesburg.